Bring it on. Want some, get some. Can I get a hell yeah?
Yes, I am a pirate.
You have to go with the Pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything.
It's a pirate's life for me.
Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're Pirates.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
You will get to Omaha. I can promise you that.
Painted purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul. And I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
Welcome into the Pirate Preview here on the Sports Objective as we get you ready for tomorrow night, Thursday night. And with us right now, very first time, is Jim Szoke, voice of the Pirates and, of course, the Panthers. And, Jim, how are you doing, man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on your show today.
No doubt. In fact, Kyle from LaGrange joining us. We'll have the roundtable later on in the show, but we wanted to catch up with Jim. First time and on the show. I've listened to you. I haven't listened to every single Panthers broadcast, but glad to have you on. And we'll be talking Panthers, but obviously want to focus on the Pirates. And first of all, Jim, I wanted to thank you because I was at the Big House and quick story. My daughter was very upset because there was a lot of people rooting for Michigan, and she didn't understand that they would not be rooting for the Pirates. And so I had to leave in the fourth quarter. And the only good thing about that was that I got to listen to you guys as I was leaving the state of Michigan. And then I listened to the fifth quarter. And so part of my journey, I got to listen to Pirate stuff. So you're doing a great job, and we're so blessed and lucky, fortunate to have you.
Well, I appreciate that. And that was not a great year or a great game, but it got good last year. And it's obviously a lot more fun when you're winning. But yeah, I appreciate it. I've really enjoyed it. Enjoy everybody I work with at ECU, everyone from the athletic department to Playfly to the guys I work with in the booth, Kevin and Andrew and Maceo and David. It's a great group, and Greenville's a great place. So I've really grown to be attached and love Pirates football.
Jim, as we lead into this year and the NC State game tomorrow night, Thursday, look back at last year. Obviously, slow start to the season, the Charlotte game, everything kind of just completely fell apart. Which led to Coach Houston's dismissal after the Army game. Then Blake Harrell comes in, goes 4-1, and then leads into that bowl game against the before mentioned NC State. That bowl game quickly. I know you've probably relived it like everybody else has and have talked about it enough, but quickly, if you will, relive that bowl game and just what calling that game was like. I know you've called a lot of big games over the years, but the biggest East Carolina game you've called. Oh yeah, definitely. It was a great atmosphere. First of all, I think Pirate Nation made it that way for so many to be there in that pouring cold rain in Annapolis and be the louder crowd of the two. And then the game itself, which you think about how the Pirates offense was so explosive, but how that was so run dominated with Rajay going for 220 yards and the team running for 326 and 3 touchdowns. I mean, that was a physical running offense. And then you've got the lead, and then with the turnovers, you give it back. NC State takes the lead, and then obviously Rajay capping it off with that 86-yard touchdown. Actually, the interception kind of capped it off after that to seal it. And then you have obviously the little fisticuffs and the shoving that went on at the end of that. It just had a little bit of everything. It had a lot of intensity. It had the rivalry. It had big plays. And that's a big win. It doesn't matter what anyone on the outside says. That was a big win for ECU to get to 8-5, win a bowl game. Anytime you take the field in that setting, you want to win. It matters. So I thought it was great. And to your point, in my 2 years, the most exciting and the funnest game to get to call for sure. Yeah, and it was a matter of, there was two things about that game besides just the obvious winning a bowl game. But, beyond beating a rival, beyond beating NC State, which is something we always want to do, we had been so poor against in-state Division I competition. Losing to Charlotte and beating NC State in the same year is almost insane to me mentally. But it's something that we desperately needed to do as a program and as a fan base for pride's sake to beat NC State, to beat an in-state opponent, particularly one from the ACC. That's the other aspect of that game. In this day and age, and it goes back when it was BCS, non-BCS, but the Power Four is so overhyped in college sports today. I mean, there's always been a separation, whether you call it major and mid-major, non-BCS, BCS, but now Power Four versus Group of Five, soon to be Group of Six with the return of the Pac-12. That was a huge win for the Pirates from that aspect, and something we'll look to do again Thursday night is to beat a Power Four opponent.
Now that was huge. It's a great notch. It's a great measuring stick, I think, for this football program to beat a team like that. And while that's not like the best NC State team of the past couple of years, it's a middle of the pack ACC team, which you would think that would be something that they would have been, thinking that's a disappointment on their end to lose to East Carolina. But for the Pirates, it didn't feel too big. To me, it didn't feel like a big upset. I didn't feel like that. Again, I know there's attrition when you get to bowl games, but both sides had that as far as roster attrition on that team. You see it with coaching staffs. So I thought, that's an important win for all the reasons you said. Come close with App State the past couple years. Don't have them on the schedule this year, but to have those opportunities to win in state against teams like that, you want to take advantage of that. That's what the fans are excited about. And it speaks to the point that the ECU allotment of tickets sold out for the game in Raleigh, sold out for the game at Coastal. This is a great fan base. I love that there's regional games like that the fans can easily access in person and be a part of.
Jim, let's talk about this year. Is obviously one of the things we've been talking about on the Sports Objective on our show is it's really hard to beat a team twice, especially into the season. And now you start the beginning of 2025. What's your thoughts going into this game tomorrow night?
Just so much changes in college football. So we had the attrition of rosters, and now since then we've had the replenishment of the rosters and the coaching staffs to get things in place for this year. So while there is a lot of carryover, you look over there at C.J. Bailey and Hollywood Smothers and Noah Rogers and some other guys, Sean Brown. There's some really good players that carry over. Same for ECU, obviously, with Caton and London Montgomery and the two Smiths at wide receiver. You have some key carryover guys, but by and large, these rosters are a lot different. An opener is a lot different than a bowl game. So it's at, this time at their place. So we've yet to get the home game part of this. We've had neutral site and now road game with this. But, those factors all make it a little bit different. But there's, again, you with Blake Harrell still there, Dave Doran still there, you still have the basics of what teams are as far as philosophy and culture offensively and defensively. So some changes, some different there. But, I don't put too much in the fact that we played them last year into this year.
Jim, what you talk about changes from the coordinator standpoint? NC State, 2 new coordinators, and their offensive coordinator's been there. He was coaching quarterbacks. I don't expect to see too much change in their offense. Defensively, new defensive coordinator. The Pirates have actually had success against NC State's new defensive coordinator in the past. We put 49 points up on him the last time he was a defensive coordinator at Temple back in 22. And then East Carolina with Josh Aldridge taking over as defensive coordinator. Talk about that from an aspect. No new head coaches. Blake was in place already. Dave Doran's been there since Jesus was a boy. But we do have new coordinators, both OC and DC for NC State and DC for East Carolina.
Yeah, it definitely makes a factor. So John David Baker is the old man of that group now, second year at ECU. And I asked him during that kickoff luncheon last week about, can you take it to like 2.0 and 3.0 now? You've got Caton back. You've got guys that have been in the system and can pick it up a little bit more quickly. So absolutely. So I expect the offense, and again, I'm talking about run and pass, to be at an even more higher intellect as far as reducing turnovers, mistakes, self-inflicted wounds, things like that for us offensively. Defensively, Josh Aldridge, handpicked by Blake Harrell, a defensive coordinator previously, picking his own defensive coordinator now as head coach. It'll be fun to watch them work together. And obviously he picked somebody that he knows that their styles are going to blend, but yet here's some different things that he'll bring with what he does from what he did at Liberty as a defensive coordinator, what he did at Auburn as a linebackers coach. And then you mentioned, the biggest change for State, obviously, is that DJ Elliott is in, and he's been all over the place. He's been at a number of, you talk about Power 4, Power 5 back in the day schools. So he's bounced around quite a bit. He's even been in the NFL a little bit. So he's worked at a lot of different places, and then to promote on the offensive side internally with Coach Roper there. I do know they want to go a little bit more up tempo is kind of their goal. Of course, I think everybody wants that. It's kind of a stated goal, up tempo offense. So we'll see that from NC State. And I think because they did play each other's, I mean, you've got to change, some of your terminology from last year. You've got to change some of the things you did and break trends, which I think we did in that game by, again, rushing the ball as much as we did. When you look at the passing in that game, I think we had 147 yards passing. That was not what ECU did when they were succeeding in the regular season. So you've got to be able to play different styles of football to win.
Yeah, last year NC State struggled with the run, so it was a good game plan. If you look at you talk about statistical standpoints. If you look back at that bowl game, and again, you have to change what you're doing. New defensive coordinator Josh Aldridge, he likes to get a lot of pressure with the defensive line if possible. I mean, anybody would. We had a lot of success. I don't have the numbers here in front of me, but we had a lot of success against NC State when we blitzed last year in that bowl game versus when we didn't. Their quarterback has put on 35 pounds, which is a lot of weight for a quarterback to put on. It should affect his, arm strength, I would think some, and I think it would affect, not so much. It may hurt his mobility, but it's probably going to make him harder to bring down.
Yeah, and he wasn't the most mobile quarterback to begin with, so he's definitely going to be a lot more in the pocket with Bailey. So I think it's always been with, Blake Harrell pushing the gas pedal as much as they can defensively to create pressure, which isn't always blitzing, but working it in when you're not just trying to get there with force. So I do think that's not going to change with Josh Aldridge at the controls either. I think their preference is to try to create chaotic situations and be kind of a quicker and lighter defense as opposed to the big heavy thumpers in there. So that does give you a speed element as far as attacking things and recovery too. If something gets out in the open and you don't get them behind the line of scrimmage, I think this is a defense that's going to continue to push that way. And that's kind of their brand. And I think that's how they want to play football in a smart way. I mean, you're not just, creating pressure and blitzing the blitz, but, picking those spots where it makes sense. And, they had that NASCAR package last year where they roll out, the smaller lineup in the secondary, the back seven, to really make coverage tough. So that allows your guys to get there with pressure when you've got guys covered up downfield too.
Yeah, Jim, with that very fact, I think the stat, we have our statistician now with us, Johnny Robertson, but Johnny had the stat, I believe off the top of my head, when we did not blitz, it was something like a quarterback rating of, Kyle, I think it was 85.8. And it was significantly lower when we blitzed him. So if we're going to have success, I know that was last year and a bowl game, totally different. But definitely we need to get pressure on the quarterback. Yeah,
it's tough in today's college football too, because you want to get pressure, but also a lot of these offenses are built to get the ball out quickly. So if you've got somebody working out of a spread, doing a 3-step drop, you just can't get there. So you kind of have to know when it makes sense to go after. You do want to get that pressure on the quarterback, but you also want to realize that ball in a lot of instances, a lot of teams run similar offenses. They're not all quite the same, but that's become kind of the trend, is a lot of spread, a lot of quick passing with 5 receivers out in the formation and letting the quarterback make a quick, decisive decision as opposed to standing in the pocket, 7-step drop, waiting for a long developing route to develop down the field. So you don't always have that time to get there, but especially if you get pressure up the middle, that'll affect any pass play, whether it be quick or longer developing. You get in the face of a quarterback up the middle in particular, that could really cause havoc.
Yeah, and another thing with blitzing, if you look at the biggest question mark on the ECU defense is obviously the corners. Feel pretty good about safeties in the secondary, but corners. And if you're blitzing a lot, you may be leaving your corners out on an island, so that's something else we're going to have to be aware of. But looking at the other side of the ball for the Pirates, Caden Hauser, year 2 at quarterback for the Pirates, after having a really nice second half of the year. He needs to cut down on the interceptions a little bit. I asked him at media day, how do you stay aggressive, play loose, yet cut down on those interceptions? At times he seemed streaky last year. When he was on, and then he'd go quiet for part of the game. You saw it in the bowl game. How do you think he takes that next step of maturing where, he is productive in terms of yards and touchdowns, but cuts down on those interceptions and the streakiness?
Yeah, and I think some of that comes with just again the reps and the starts. And you had 7 starts last year, and getting those opportunities to kind of have an off-season look back. I mean, jumping in as a starter mid-season essentially there, they kind of picked up where Jake Garcia left off, and so that obviously was way too many turnovers. And Caton did have a lot more success cutting down on that, especially with his touchdown performances. So I think you just learn from now having those opportunities to look at an off season, really think about that, work through the spring football, get through this part of camp, and be ready to be smart with the football. So there were certain times where he kind of just made bad decisions. But I mean, a lot of it is he's just putting the ball up a lot in the air. If you're going to throw for 400 yards and maybe 4 touchdowns, there's going to be some give back. There's going to be some missed throws, and you kind of live with that, I guess. So that's part of what you just the price you pay. As they say in the NFL sometimes, no risk it, no biscuit. So I think that's kind of a philosophy. Like you're not going to get the big plays and touchdowns if you don't have some giving back their way to the defense. So I think he'll grow from that. I think the addition of Mike Wright is a nice, steady veteran guy that can at times throw. He's had, especially at Vanderbilt back in the day, he had just a number of starts. He threw the ball pretty decent. Obviously, he's a big guy that can run it. So not by any means a 2-quarterback system, but there are some things you can do in certain packages to really even mix that up a little bit more.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Mike Wright comes in from Northwestern, played at Vandy, played at Mississippi State. Very intelligent guy. Great interview. If you listen to JDB, he really harps on it's not a 2-quarterback system. I'm not a 2-quarterback guy. Even implies without saying as much he's not going to play Mike Wright at quarterback unless there's an injury or the game's out of reach. I don't believe that. I think Mike Wright's going to be a Swiss Army knife. I think he's going to probably be used in a lot of different positions, but I do expect to see him line up at quarterback, if not in maybe just in goal line packages. I fully expect to see Mike Wright take the field at some point against NC State Thursday night at the quarterback position. You agree with that?
I think we'll see him, yeah, because you're not saving him. He's a guy who's a graduate student, and he's 6'4", and he weighs 200 pounds or so, and there's a place for him. Why he wanted to transfer here, that there's got to be some enticement that he'd want to come to ECU. And we saw Caton Hauser can run. I almost call it sneaky speedy, especially even in that bowl game with a touchdown run and another long run that he had in that game. So Caton can run, but do you want to put your quarterback in peril? So if there's situations where it's like kind of a known that you're going to run, why not hand it over to somebody else to handle that in certain situations? Because sometimes you do want to have that element of surprise where you don't want the other team to know if you're going to pass or run or what the case may be. So Caton's fully capable of doing those running plays, doing quarterback sneaks, all of that stuff. But there's a place for Mike Wright in that offense. It's a long season of, we hope, 13 games, right? So I think that there's a place where he's going to come in and be a big factor and not somebody you have to save a red shirt or something for being as long as he's been in college football as he has.
Yeah, I'm up for 14 conference championship games in the bowl game.
That would be even better, yes. 14 would be the maximum ideal number, yes.
So as we continue to look at the game tomorrow night against NC State, last year in the bowl game, Rajay Harris obviously was the star of the show. Not just the 86-yard touchdown run, but just an incredible performance. But going into the bowl game, Rajay wasn't the running back getting all the hype. It was Hollywood Smothers. Hollywood had a good game. But do you think that being overshadowed in that bowl game by another running back last year will be even more motivation for Hollywood Smothers to have a big game against the Pirates?
I think it's mostly like, he kind of like Caton came in midseason. He became the midseason main running back for them. And now he's at an off season where he's had a mull over losing that bowl game to ECU as a whole. So I don't think so much running back versus running back as much as from Dave Doran down and the fan base and all those players that are returning from last year. I mean, that was something that's sticking in their craw for sure. So I'm sure payback is in their mind overall just from the outcome of that bowl game and losing it because they took the lead in the fourth quarter and gave it back. So I don't think in those terms, but he's a good back and he's talented. He can catch the ball too, and he'll be used in a lot of different ways.
Dave, you there? Either Dave is having mic issues or he has been called away at work, Jim. So I'll continue the interview as best I can.
We'll see if Dave calls back in. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll quickly take a look at some other games. You look down the Pirates schedule a little bit. You don't want to get too far ahead. You don't want to overlook Campbell. You can't overlook anybody. They've spent some money on NIL as far as FCS programs go. So you have them next, but then after that, you go on the road against Coastal Carolina down in Conway/Myrtle Beach. Now, I do think that may be a bowl game type environment. I think their stadium holds around 20,000. I have every idea we're going to carry 5,000 to 7,000 Pirates down to Coastal Carolina, so it should be an interesting atmosphere. My personal opinion, and talk to some other people, I kind of look at that as a pivotal game for the Pirates. If you don't concede anything, we certainly don't concede to NC State, and we're not going to concede to BYU. But if the games go as they are on paper, where the favorite wins, there's a good chance. You beat Campbell, you lose to NC State, and you likely lose to BYU. That Coastal game to start the season, the first quarter of the season, the first 4 games, 2-2. To me, that Coastal game is pivotal. Week 3 down in Conway.
No, it's big. Anytime you go on the road, it's tough. And like you said, that's going to be a big rivalry game. But, for Coastal, I always view the American as being, a notch ahead of the Sun Belt overall. And of course, there's different teams that are better than others. But that's going to be a tough place to go. It's going to look like a Hornets game, all that purple with that teal out there. So it'll be interesting to see just how much ECU fans make that into a home game for us. But that's why I think even the NC State game, just to start the season, what a tone setter that would be to go to Raleigh, get that win first. I mean, you probably look at ECU football in 2025 in a different light if you open with that win there and pull that off as a significant underdog. So that'd be a great one to get. And then you mentioned as far as just taking all the non-conference together, Campbell's trying to get better. And then BYU is nationally ranked already in the coaches poll and should be nationally ranked in the AP poll by the time we see them there. But that's going to be a huge atmosphere at Dowdy-Ficklin, too, to have a team like that rolling in.
Yeah, interesting with BYU. They opened with Portland State, terrible FCS team. I got blown out by Tarleton State this past weekend. Stanford did not look good against Hawaii. I think that game would have actually gotten out of hand had Hawaii's quarterback not been injured. I don't think it would have been a close win by Hawaii. Those are BYU's 2 opponents before they play us. Portland, Stanford only play 2 games. They're starting a freshman quarterback, the first tie starting quarterback in FBS history. First time BYU starting a freshman. And this is going to be his first road game after playing Portland and Stanford in Provo. He's got to come to Greenville. Potentially afternoon game, long trip to Provo, Eastern North Carolina Heat. I'm telling you, I know BYU was 12-2 last year. I know they got a great defense, but there's just some sneaky things about that game that if we're playing good football, watch out.
Absolutely. And again, you get those in your non-conference. It changes your whole outlook heading into conference play as far as the national scope and then how you kind of gauge. Because let's be realistic with all these teams. You don't know exactly. There's so much change, as you mentioned, with NIL and transfer portal that, these teams are completely different every year. And you're talking about a lot of 19, 20, 21-year-olds. So there's a lot of unknowns that become known over those first couple games as far as getting at least a sense. And then teams change and get better or get worse as the season goes on, whatever the case may be. But you'll get a real sense of this team. Like, I don't think we fully know at all what ECU football looks like, what NC State football looks like, what BYU football looks like right now till you get it out there. That's why these preseason polls, so many conferences like the American have done away with them because they don't really stack up to reality. It's like you don't really know for sure. You might think but till you see these guys perform and some of them not had opportunities, I mean, you have no way of knowing. Like we bring in somebody like Anthony Smith last year, wasn't being used at NC State. He puts up huge numbers last year as an ECU Pirate. But you wouldn't have known those were the numbers coming in from Raleigh that he would have brought. So every year is completely, I wouldn't say completely unpredictable, but it's really difficult to get a true gauge of, what are the best teams when you get beyond like the traditionals, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, some of those schools.
Yeah, no doubt. And particularly this day and age of the transfer portal. Go ahead, Dave. I go get in your question about the Panthers. Jim's got to go.
No, I'm sorry. I was having some technical difficulties somehow. I was trying to talk to y'all and couldn't hear Jim, and I can only hear you.
I think Kyle muted you, actually.
Oh, okay. I know you have to run, so we're running out of time with you, but just wanted to ask you about the line. The line has been crazy. Where I'm not a betting man, but we do look at that 11.5, 12.5. And I've been telling people take the points. I just don't really think that it's going to be the high of a game. I know it's at NC State, and I expect them to be favored because it's there, but I just want to get your thoughts on that before we let you go.
Well, I'm the same with the Panthers as I am with the Pirates, as any coach would be. I think that the broadcast team is the same way. I never go in expecting not to win. So beyond points, my thought and my goal is the Pirates are going to win that football game. They just did it in the bowl game last year. So I'm not on the betting sites, FanDuel and all that stuff because I'd be terrible at it probably. But I do think ECU has established something with Blake Harrell and this coaching staff and the talent that they've got, not just returning talent, but some of the new guys coming in, that this is going to be a talented football team this year. So my thought is you go into Raleigh, you're 1-0, and you win that game against NC State. I don't even care about the points. For those who bet, what a bonus. Yeah, if you're getting 12 points on top of that, you take that on top of it, sure.
All right, Jim, one final thing is I hope that if I ever need a flight, can I have some of your points there for all the flights you're doing throughout the year, and now with East Carolina? You have the Panthers in East Carolina. I'm sure that there, if you want to see Jim, you can see him at the airport, right?
That's not a bad way to go. I mean, it's a combination of driving and flying, and with ECU definitely picking up some miles there. A couple with the Panthers, but I usually return with them on their flights. I don't get miles on that one, but I'll take that because you get to leave right after the game and get back home without waiting through the airport. So, yeah, I'll see if you're traveling somewhere in my vicinity, I'll see you guys, or I'll pass you on I-85 or I-40 going back and forth from Charlotte.
All right, Jim, appreciate your time, and good luck calling the game Thursday night.
Looking forward to it. Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. All right, bye. All right, welcome in as we're getting, we had that great interview there with Jim Szoke. How you guys doing? Let's bring in Kyle from LaGrange Barber.
What's going on, Dave? That was kind of, weird, like meta there for a minute. I was there for the interview, and I was here watching myself do the interview. That was trippy, man.
Yeah, it was. Matt Semenza, of course, former linebacker for Coach Steve Logan in the 1990s. What's up, Matty Ice?
What's going on, fellas? Good interview there, and just fired up, man. It's 24 hours from game time, ready to go.
Johnny Robertson, JR, we needed you during that interview, but did I get that right about the quarterback rating? Did I get that right?
No, I mean, I didn't go into the quarterback rating. I have that number, but I thought it was more impressive just to, say what the percentage, completion percentage was, and the
sorry, all right, I heard that wrong.
Yards per pass. That's
yeah.
what
When you gave the quarterback rating, Dave, I was like, hey, maybe he got that from somewhere else, but I didn't want to correct it with Johnny's stats because I wasn't sure if you got it from somewhere, so I just let it go.
Sorry about that. See, that's why we have Johnny's stats on the show, because I was trying to. I heard that wrong. I totally heard that as the quarterback rating. That's what I get for trying to pull off stats. So welcome into our Pirate Preview, the first one of the year. And guys, we're going to talk about NC State, but a lot of buzz about, I just want to get your thoughts on next September. I know where Kyle's going to be, September the 5th.
I'm going to be at the house. I hate it.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're not going to go with us.
No.
This road, look, you've got Matt Semenza, Johnny Robertson, Bubba. There's a whole bunch of our friends are going to be there. We've got Tom. There's a whole bunch of people. The Ponds, they'd probably get mad at me saying their names, but there's going to be a lot of people there. I'm telling you guys right now.
Awesome. Good for them.
So you're going to stay at home? You're not going to go with us?
I've lost nothing in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I have no interest in going to Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Wait a minute.
Wish the Q&A is waiting on you, Kyle. What?
Yeah, road trip with Justin Buck.
Oh, Queen Anne. I thought you were saying a Q&A. I have no interest in going to that game. I don't like playing buy games at all, and I don't like playing buy games that we have no shot at winning.
Kyle, what do you think of? I'm sorry.
I
was going to say, what do you think about barbecue with white sauce? That's what you get down there.
I actually like it. Particularly on beef brisket, the white sauce I've had, and God Almighty, we can make a lot of jokes here, but the white sauce I've had in the past, it's mayonnaise based, but I've had some that's had kind of a bit of a horseradish bite to it, and I think it's really good on beef brisket, honestly. But I don't mind the white sauce. But anyway. I have no interest in playing Alabama. I know we're going to continue to preview NC State, but I don't like doing buy games from the Terry Holland School on that. Oklahoma offered us $1 million in 2008 to go to play them in Norman, and we offered them $2 million to come here. That was Holland's response because Holland had the right approach to things at East Carolina. And I know people will say, well, things have changed with revenue sharing before the NIL, but I think if you know, there's a lot of fans where anybody can do a F and bye game with Alabama. Middle Tennessee State, Delaware, it takes nothing to do a bye game. Impress me, get a good home and home. You know, these home and home, we had a good home and home sign with Boise and we dropped it. That's who we would be playing next year. It's at Alabama.
Well, wait a minute. And guess what? And I'm glad you said that, Kyle, because you know who got that game dropped?
Yeah, I know.
Mike Houston.
Already. Oh, Mike Houston was behind that?
I think so, because he made a comment. He made a comment a year or two. These kickoff lunches are running together, and he made this comment. He goes, Houston did not. So I'm going to take it off Gilbert for a second. He said, "Why in the world would we go all the way out to Idaho to play a game? Because it's
because Boise State is the standard for the so-called Group of Five, and that's who we need to be chasing. We ain't never going to catch Alabama, but we can catch Boise. And, that's my thoughts on it. I know a lot of people will disagree. I don't like bye games at all. If you're going to do a bye game, I'd rather do it at Northwestern. We can go out there and kick Northwestern's ass and get a paycheck. All we're going to do when we go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, is get our asses kicked. And that's not an indictment on the Pirates. That's just reality and facts. So would 90% of the other teams in college football. And I have no interest in it. Same when we played at Michigan 2 years ago. I had no interest in it. And look what happened. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Matt, JR, you guys have any thoughts on that before we get back into the NC State game?
Well, I agree that I prefer the home and home, and we've really struggled to get home and homes, obviously, in a big way. Look, the Alabama game, I don't love it personally, but, it is what it is. You're going to get a payday out of it. I totally agree wholeheartedly that it was a huge mistake to drop the Boise game. That was criminal, in my opinion. It made no sense whatsoever. But look, we don't have control over the schedule, so we're just going to have to go down there and put our best foot forward and hope that we are able to put a good team on the field that can be competitive.
Guess who we play the next week after we play Alabama?
Who is it?
App State. App State. And they probably play Doodoo-ville State to start the season or somebody like that. I don't know. I'd have to look at their schedule. But, so you got App State the following week, and we're going to be banged up. I don't like it at all. Anyway, I'd like to be playing. If I had the choice, I'd rather be playing an FCS and getting ready for App.
No,
but I have no interest in playing Alabama. None.
I have no interest. Let me tell you something. I have no interest in playing FCS games.
Well, we're gonna get our asses kicked. We're gonna get hurt. We're gonna get bruised up, and then we got to come home and play App.
I don't think so. We will.
You think we're gonna beat Alabama?
I didn't say we're gonna beat Alabama.
You're gonna get 90% of schools in college football get their asses kicked by Alabama. It's a waste of time, except for the paycheck.
Well, yeah. Look, we had a look at nothing else, guys. Matt, you remember it because you.
How did all y'all enjoy y'all's trip to Ann Arbor? Everybody have fun?
I did have fun, actually.
You wouldn't catch me. Yeah, no way. I'll be going.
I'll tell you what, though.
I will be in Evanston, Illinois. Good Lord willing, in 27.
I'll push back a little bit on you, Kyle, in this regard. Had we brought a decent quarterback into Ann Arbor, that game would have been far more competitive, in my opinion.
I don't care about competitive games. I care about winning games.
But that was a disaster, though. Putting what we did there, it was bad timing with Mason Garcia, who clearly wasn't ready for that level. But, I think that's what it's all about. We didn't have – I'm not saying we would have beat Michigan, but had we had a competitive quarterback on the field, I think it would have been a far more appealing game to watch. But look, that's college football, man. You got to play the best teams out there, right?
I'd love to play Alabama. I'd love to play Alabama when we get our shit together, win the American, have a great season, and meet them at the playoffs. That's when I want to play Alabama. So.
Did we lose Dave?
No, Dave's there. Johnny's. Everybody's here.
I cut out for a second.
I think Dave's on the phone, so he can't talk right now. So, guys, let's dive into the NC State game. That's why we're here. Tomorrow night, we know who we're opening up against. It ain't Alabama. It's the NC State Wolfpack, and that is a game, unlike Alabama, that we can win. Not even going to touch the controversy. If you don't know what we're talking about, don't worry about it. It ain't worth knowing. And if you know what we're talking about, then you know why we ain't touching it. So we're just going to skip over that for those wondering. So Looking at the game, guys, the line jumped to 14, which is a little surprising to me. It was at 11.5. Without even mentioning what the controversy is about, I do want to ask you guys this. How much of a distraction do you think it is for the team? Do you think, without even talking about what it is, just knowing this is going on and out there, do you think it's a distraction for the team, or do you think they'll use it as motivation?
I don't see it as any distraction whatsoever, honestly. These guys are mentally tough. They're mentally strong. They've heard about it. They've talked about it, but I'm sure it's been addressed internally, and I don't see it being a distraction anyway whatsoever. Like I said, these guys are locked in. I mean, they're mentally strong, and I think they'll be able to put that to the side very easily. What do you guys think?
Me personally, I mean, some people are saying it's fake. Anyway, regardless of whether it's, let me just say this.
Just touch on it from the team standpoint, Dave. Let's not even talk about the controversy. Let's just, how do you think the team will react to it? I think JDB is going to use it as motivation.
Yeah, I don't see that. We're not going to definitely lose. We're not going to lose the game because of a quote unquote distraction. There's nothing to be distracted about. It's a nothing burger. And once again, it just shows the classlessness of NC State. I'm sorry. I actually love the university, but the fans, this is why, if you wonder why you only have two national championships, if you wonder why you always have a chip on your shoulder, and you want to talk about, you want to be a big dog, big dogs don't do the kind of stuff that you've done this week. It's not the wink and say my team is going to win or anything like that. I'm okay with that. That's fun, but it's been very classless. And, and once again, this goes on. I'm sorry. I've never been a fan of Dave Doran. Doran, this is on you. This is the kind of stuff that you allow in your fan base. This is the kind of stuff you allow.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think we could put that on Dave Doran. I mean, Dave Doran has no control over it.
I know that he didn't say it. I didn't say he said it, but he talks crap about UNC all the time. And, I'm not a UNC fan. I'm an East Carolina guy, but it's just classless stuff that happens, and it should not happen. And, it's fine if you want to run your program that way. He didn't say that, I know, but I'm just saying he says stuff in press conferences and all the time. And he can tell us all he wants to. I don't believe that he really respects our program. He should respect our program. We have beat him. And it is a rivalry game, but anyway, Matt, I wanted to ask you, as far as being a former player, your thoughts. I wanted to ask you your thoughts on that very thing of trash talking, and is trash talking between, I remember you're playing, I'll just put it to you this way. I remember during your playing time, there was a game with, I believe it was a game with NC State. And one of your teammates was going back and forth with guys he knew. They were calling each other on the landline and talking trash. Just wondering how much of a factor is that? Is that a distraction, or is that just kind of fun, all fun and games, meaning all's fair in love, war, and football?
Yeah, I think that trash talk is fun. I always kind of enjoyed that part of it. I mean, I think there are limits to it. When you start to slander somebody's family or somebody's name, somebody's good name, I think that's overboard for me. But a little good-natured trash talking, look, especially between in-state opponents, I think that makes it more fun. Like I said, you just have to kind of keep it to a certain point. In my opinion, there are certain lines that you don't cross, but I think that stuff's great. And once you're on the field, man, look, trash talk away. That's just the way it is. And for me, I always kind of enjoyed that. It kind of motivated me, and I had no problem, chirping back. So, yeah, I don't think it's any distraction for these guys at all.
Hey, Kyle, Matt, what was your favorite? Was there a favorite thing you ever said or heard as somebody that's trash talking you?
I couldn't repeat it on the air, unfortunately.
Okay.
I probably could, since we're not monitored by the FCC, but I won't, just because my family's listening. So yeah, okay. You could. I'll let you read between the lines on that, too. There were a few expletives, though, I can promise you.
Okay. we'll keep it moving. Johnny, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think this is motivation for the team, or do you think it's a distraction?
JR, if you are talking, we cannot hear you, bud.
Yeah,
oh boy, I was on mute. Thank you, Kyle, for telling me that. I was on mute because my computer's making it was making like alert noises. I didn't want to come out over the air, but anyhow, it's not a distraction in my opinion. I feel like these guys are aware, and it's just pulling them closer together, and not a distraction at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, not in fact. We've got coming up. We've got for NC State. You guys, I know, did an interview we'll do in just a little while, but overall, what are your feelings? Obviously, this is the eve of college football for our season. Matt, how are you feeling about the game tomorrow night? Are you feeling good? You feeling nervous, anxious? What's your being a former player too? I guess this is kind of like one of the hardest nights of the year, knowing you got your first game tomorrow.
I'll tell you, I feel a lot better this year, guys, than I have in recent seasons coming into this. There's some years where I kind of waver on my opinions from going through spring and then summer, and then you get to game time, and it's kind of like a roller coaster. I can waver a little bit on my thoughts, but I have been really consistent this year, all the way since last winter, basically saying that I feel great about our offense. I really like where we are offensively with JDB and Hauser in year 2 now in this system. I love our skill guys. I love our wide receivers. I think our offensive line is going to be improved. I think we're in really good shape offensively, and we're going to score a lot of points. I'm really confident in that. Again, for me, it is what do we do defensively? And are we able to get stops when we need to? And maybe we can. All right, but it's just a little more unproven on that side of the ball. So I feel really good. I am very confident saying, guys, we're going to move the ball offensively. We're going to have big plays. I just think for me the questions remain, and I'll pass it over to you guys.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see tomorrow night how our defense matches up. With NC State's new offense, the way it was described, as you'll hear later on from Noah Fishman, however you say his last name, from the Woodpecker.com. I apologize to Noah. I'm horrible with last names. But, the way he described it, it's going to be a pro-style offense, but up-tempo. They're going to go fast. So it'll be interesting to see. God knows we practice against fast-paced offense all the time. So it'll be interesting to see how our defense matches up with that. Will that actually fit us better in terms of what we're, prepared for? Because we see it in practice all the time, and I guarantee you we're going to go faster than them. So that's really interesting to me. The fact that State's going to go up tempo this year, I'm interested to see how our defense matches up with that. JR, what are your thoughts?
Well, if that happens, it's going to be like the opposite of what happened in Annapolis, because we ran 7 more plays than they did, but they had the ball for 7 minutes longer than we did. So, I mean, that shows you right there what the tempo was. And they were not, they were going at a much slower pace.
Yeah, they huddled, but not planning on huddling much this year. So big change there.
I'm looking also for Caitlin to remain clean in the pocket. I mean, he didn't get sacked last year. 79% of the plays, he wasn't touched. That was one of the best, even Norfolk State, they got to him a few times. But, not him, but Garcia. So if he can stay clean in the pocket again, his numbers are way more efficient. And with the speed we have on this offense and the question marks they have at linebacker and the secondary, I'm nervous, but I said it Sunday night. I have a good feeling. I wouldn't be going to Raleigh if I didn't think that we had a shot. And I think it's going to be a very close game. And I like our chances, but yeah, I'm nervous, of course.
And by the way, yeah. Brendan actually was asking, Brendan Shapiro, of course, alum of our great show, was asking, we do have tonight, we're going to be giving our predictions in a little while. So Stay with us towards the end of the show if you want to know how that, and you can obviously participate in the comments and questions section there, YouTube. We're broadcasting live tonight again on Facebook and Instagram, and coming soon to X. So keep that in mind. If you want to participate in your predictions, then stay with us. That'll be coming up at the end of the show.
Sarah, you mentioned the back end of their defense. Yeah, they are young there. They brought in a lot of transfers for their D line, but they're definitely really young in the back end, as much as we are. This could be a very high scoring game. It really could. This could end up being a shootout. It should be a lot of fun to watch, I would imagine, if you're not a fan of either team and you just want to watch a high scoring football game. But I got a feeling it's going to be nerve wracking for both sides. I am shocked that this line's at 14. I know it jumped up a couple days ago. It's kind of held. I think people are probably not touching it very much now after it jumped up. But I think that line's way too high, unless there's something we don't know. I got a feeling, I may put some money on it tomorrow. I'm waiting until tomorrow. If that thing's still sitting at 14 tomorrow, I may put some money down on that. I just don't. And it's possible, easily you can play well in a game and lose it by 14. You're down by a touchdown late in the game, driving to tie it, throw a pick six. Bam, you lost by 14. So, but that line seems way too big to me.
I agree, guys. Like I was telling with Jim earlier in our broadcast, if you're just joining us, we had Jim Zoki for the voice of the Pirates, Panthers. He does it all, man. He's great. And towards the end of the interview, I asked Matt, you're the guy, not to out you, but you're the guy that you're like our betting expert. You're like the back in the day, the Jimmy the Greek guy, way back on NFL. I'm like,
I like to think of Matt as the fabulous sports babe.
Oh no. Look, let me tell you something. I love Semenza. I will never do that to no.
I don't know who that is, Kyle, but I'm
Are you
sure.
serious? You never saw the fabulous? You know what? You may have been playing around the time she was on ESPN too. JR, you remember the fabulous sports babe?
Yeah, my favorite was whenever she was talking about Notre Dame, and of course you have to have 6 wins to be in a bowl, to be bowl eligible. She said Notre Dame can win a few games and still make be in a bowl, and her real name was Nancy, and I was trying to remember the name of the guest, and they're like, no, Nancy, they can't because they have to have those 6 wins. But I am the fabulous sports babe. If you get a chance, Matt, you're not missing anything. But she was always telling people, we know that the object, unless it's golf, is to score more points. We know that, but she would say that a lot, and it drove me crazy because there's no reason for people to call in if you're just going to say, score more points. The object is to score more points or something like that. So anyway, I never thought I would be talking about the fabulous sports babe tonight. But getting back to my original thought there, Matt, is that line. I'm sorry. I know I'm a Pirate. I know I went to school there. We cover the Pirates. You can call me a homer, whatever you want to call me. But the reality is, I'm telling you, 14 points. If you know anything about this rivalry, either way, I could see 6-7 points somewhere in that range either way, but 14, I would say it's probably 7 or 8 would be honest. And speaking of being objective, 7 or 8 points should be the line, but that's not always, it's not about what it should be. It is what it is.
Yeah. What that line tells you guys is that still around the country, there's a lack of respect for ECU, and the fact that a lot of people think that game was a fluke, and when you refer back to the bowl game, and I ran through some numbers today, guys, and I was kind of commenting on X earlier about just how delusional NC State fans can be, and of all the fan bases out there, they have a pretty warped sense about who they are. But you think about this, all right? I went back to 1985. All right, so it's a pretty good sample size. Our record going back to 1985 against NC State is 10-8. If you just look over the last 10 games, it's 5-5, and I would say very easily it should be 6-4 had Mike Houston not been conservative Mike and blown that game at home. So NC State fans need to wake up a little bit. I also think it's Vegas just has this perception. It's ACC versus little old East Carolina, and they're going to bump up the line. So, hey, it's up to us to prove these people wrong, and we have an opportunity tomorrow night.
Yeah, keep your emotions in check and make sure that, I'll give my predictions. We'll give our predictions in just a little while, and you guys may be surprised what I'll have to say. But I will tell you that you've got to wait. And Kyle's got EC winning by 3 or 4 touchdowns. So just spoiler alert. If not really, but I'll tell you. By the way, Robert has a great point here, guys. I'm a ticket nerd. I love the secondary market. It's fun seeing about where our program lies. Check this out. We have the 5th highest ticket price this weekend. Top 4 all have a national championship playing, and that's exactly Matt. When you're talking about, my sister did not realize, and Kyle knows my sister. My sister doesn't understand the modern day, like, oh my gosh, how much parking costs now, especially on the secondary market. So, but our program, Johnny, as you know, because you're Johnny Robertson's at everything, man. They should give you an
Is Amy really worried about paying for parking with her doctorate in nursing? Is she really worried about the cost of parking? I'll give her $1 or $2 if she needs it.
Yeah. Okay. Please do. You can Venmo her or cash.
All right, I'll do it.
No, it's because I go, to be fair to her, I go to a lot of games, just like Matt.
Dr. Amy Richmond is worried about the cost of parking.
Yeah. She was shocked because she doesn't pay attention to any of that stuff. So, but how about that, guys? The 5th highest ticket price this weekend, which tells you that there's a lot of interest in this game. So no, it's not a rivalry game. It doesn't matter. It only matters when they win. When they win, oh yes, it's a great game and all this. But I really believe there's a Johnny, I want to ask you this, and other guys can chime in, but I want to get your take on this. How much of the fan base, being from NC State, doubt that they're going to win tomorrow night? What do you think the percentage is? Because I know there's some people that have been trash talking, but there's been some others that are just like, I wouldn't be surprised if East Carolina wins and Dave Doran deserves to get fired on the first game back a few weeks ago. I haven't heard recently, but there has been some chatter like that.
Are we done talking about the game itself? Because I had some things I was looking forward to.
Yeah, we can come.
Go ahead, JR. Just Dave was asking you that question, but no, you can jump back in whenever you want to. We can switch on topics.
Okay. The return game, I was really excited about the possibilities. I mean, we have London Montgomery and Parker Jenkins returning kicks. And I don't know how many people are aware of Kyler Pearson. He's a little 5'8", 150-pound speedster that's going to be returning punts. He played at Oak State. He played at Kansas. His brother was a 3-year starter at quarterback at Air Force. He's fast. And I was really thinking that maybe we could break a return tomorrow. But then looking back at last season, their punter is really good at getting the ball inside the 20 and getting the return team down there. We didn't have a chance to return any punts last year, and only one kickoff wasn't a touchback. So I don't know. It might not be this week, but in the future, I'm really looking forward to watching how our return teams do. I think we got a lot of speed back there and some twitchy guys. So I think that could be something that's being overlooked.
Yeah, I agree. I like our return game potential with Parker Jenkins, London Montgomery, and then you mentioned the transfer from Oklahoma State, who was a return specialist there. That's really all he did was return kicks, and he transferred here. So I do think, you're right. Maybe not tomorrow night, but I do think there will be a time or two this year we return a kick or a punt for a touchdown, and while we may not take one to the house tomorrow night, I got a feeling, at some point in the game, we'll break a kick, be it a kickoff return or a punt return, that, leads to some really good field position. And another thing, from the kicking situation, the new starting kicker, the transfer from here to New Hampshire, he's got a bigger leg than what we've had recently. He has the ability to hit from 50. And if he can do that consistently, then that becomes a real weapon as you go into tomorrow night. You get down the end of the field where you may have to have gone for it on a 4th and 3 or a 4th and 4 or punted it. You can try a long field goal. I do wonder with the ability to kick longer field goals. I hope not JDB, but I hope Blake Harrell doesn't, change his aggressive approach that he had last year and play for field goals more often. I hope he learned from Mike Houston's mistakes there and keeps with the aggression and trying to get it in the end zone every drive if possible.
And Kyle, you bring up it's a good point right there, because you think about Blake Harrell last year and the situation we were in. He was playing with house money. He had an opportunity to turn that season around, and so he coached very loose, he coached aggressive in many spots where Mike Houston would have punted. He made the decision to go for it. And now, it is a good question heading into his first full season as the head coach. Will he maintain that thought process, or will he sort of resort back to a little bit more of a conservative mentality? And we'll find out. But I agree, man. Like, especially in a game like this, you want to be aggressive and you want to be who you are. And I especially at ECU, I never loved the idea of relying on my kicking game to try to win a game. So yeah, that is going to be an interesting thing to follow as we get through the first part of the season here.
Yeah, I would. Go ahead, JR.
Okay, I just wanted to add, while we're on that subject, last season, I feel like the reason we won the game, I mean, as far as first downs go, it was pretty close. I think we had 22 and they had 21, something like that. But on third and fourth down conversions, they were 7 of 16, and we were 12 of 14. So no, that can't be right. Hold on, I got it right here. So yeah, on fourth down conversions, they were 2 of 4. We were 1 of 1. Third down conversions, they were 5 of 12. We were 12 of 16. So we were 13 of 17. They were 7 of 16. I mean, that's the money down. We're cashing in. They're not. So let's hope that continues as well.
That's going to pretty much tell the story of winning and losing most games. If you are, if you win third down and then the occasional fourth down, you're going to win the game 90% of the time. So, that'll be interesting to see tomorrow night if that plays a role again. Can we win third down and fourth down like we did against them last year?
And we were 3 for 3 in the red zone too.
Yeah, that's another huge stat. If you take advantage of red zone opportunities, more red zone opportunities you have, the better. But if you take advantage of the ones you get, you don't need as many. That was not our most impressive game offensively last year, but we took advantage of every scoring opportunity we had. And then on that last touchdown, Rajay made a scoring opportunity.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, Johnny, on at least 4 of those third down conversions that we had in that bowl game, we ran the ball. Rajay a few times, third and long, boom, handed off. He was able to make a play. Hauser, same thing on some designed quarterback runs. There was one undesigned play where he scrambled and got a first down, but that was interesting to watch how we would run the ball in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and make plays. And
they were bad against the run last year, Matt. I mean, it was really a good game plan.
It was. Well, hey, anytime it works, it's a great game plan, right? And it's like, it's that old thing. Hey, if you can either look like a genius or a fool, but it definitely worked in that game. So it's but it's a very important stat to follow for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, just following up on that real quick. This is like one of the last points I have is last season as a whole, the Pirates were like one of the most balanced teams in the American. I mean, Memphis was slightly more balanced, but we ran the ball 52.3 and we passed 47.7. What do y'all think about this season? Do you think we may run more, or do you think we may maybe tick up the pass a little bit more?
I think it'll be pretty 50-50. I would think we'd pass more. What I do think we'll see a lot more, JR, is more running from the quarterbacks. My guess will be a little heavier on the pass, but I do think the quarterbacks will run more this year, be it Caden Hauser or Mike Wright. Just from talking to the running backs, I think we're going to see a lot more passes to the running backs this year. London Montgomery and Parker Jenkins talked about that quite a bit when I interviewed them. So I think you're going to see that. While it's a pass, kind of the air raid philosophy, where you throw into your running backs as part of your running game, even though it's actually your passing game. I think you may see a lot of that this year. So I think we're going to utilize the running backs more, just as much. And I think the quarterback's going to run more, but I think we're going to be heavier on the pass.
Totally agree. I agree with that. I think you're going to see it skewed a little bit more. Hauser in year 2, and you got some real weapons at wide receiver, and so yeah, I agree. And final point on just to go back one more thing to that bowl game, Dave, and then I'll let you chime in. You think about the offensive game plan too. That was a cold, rainy night in Annapolis, Maryland. Difficult conditions to throw the ball, different parts of that game. And now, you have the polar opposite where you're going to have great weather, warm weather. Just something to consider
unseasonably
too.
cool. It's going to be 58 degrees tonight, and kickoff tomorrow will be in the 60s probably. So certainly not cold, but don't expect that in late August for Eastern North Carolina. Sorry, Matt, you brought up the weather.
That is unbelievable for North Carolina weather. Wow, very unusual for it to be that cool.
It's going to be a cold winter.
Yeah. I hope so. Certainly it's the weather objective. But guys, let's see anybody's got something else. Let's give our score predictions, and then we have the interview with Noah Fleischman. I'm saying his name wrong. I know I am.
Fleischman.
Right? Thank you. Noah Fleischman. I only interviewed him from the Wolfpacker.com. Me and Stevie interviewed him earlier. So we're going to go to that. This is no disrespect, Noah. Very nice guy. I'm just horrible with last names. If it ain't Smith or something like that. But give our score predictions.
Oh, Barber.
Yeah, I can. Most of the time I can get mine right. Get our score predictions. Dave, I'll let you start. Since you're the host.
You put me on. Oh, man, you got me first. Okay. Well, I will say this. I am going to say 34-28 NC State. I'm going with the Wolfpack, even though I don't want to. I hope I'm wrong. I know I just shocked everybody in Pirate Nation. I pray that I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. That's my gut feeling. I hope that I'm wrong. But you guys can just you can go off on me on Sunday night. You can rub my face in it if I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. And I will be a real man and admit that I'm wrong. So I took one for the team there, obviously. I know you'll probably be surprised I said that, but I'll go to Kyle next.
I've gone back and forth on this. Initially, I was going to be like Dave and pick the Wolfpack. My brain tells me to pick the Wolfpack, but I'm a little pissed off about what's been going on. And if I'm pissed off about what's been going on, then some other people are pissed off about what's been going on. And, unless something unforeseen comes up, I got a feeling instead of distracted, we're going to be motivated and pissed off. And I'm going to say JDB calls the game of his life. East Carolina 42, NC State 38.
Okay. Wow. Let's go to, I'm going to save the best for, no, I'm kidding. Let's go to JR.
All right. I think our defense is going to show up a little bit better than people think. And I'm going with 31-30 Pirates.
Wow.
And yeah. And I think, like I say, the defense is going to make a big play at the end. We had 2 guys that had sacks last year that are returning. And we got Jamarly Riddle, who, I remember when on their first drive, they had a 4th and 1 and they went for it. And Jamarly just stuffed them behind the line of scrimmage. And I think that kind of sent a message. And I think he'll be sending more messages tomorrow. And I think JD will be playing, he'll come up big. And Raheem Craig had a sack. He's back. So I think the defense will really bail us out, and it's going to be 31-30.
All right, Matt Spencer for the Pirates, former linebacker with Steve Logan.
So you guys are all seeing a lot of points in this game, and I am too. And, look, when you break it down, Vegas has this as a 13.5-point dog, right? So logic tells you we're probably going to lose this game, right? That's what logic tells you when you look at that spread. But again, I've been saying I feel really good about where we are offensively. I love our skill pieces this year, and I think we're going to give them hell on defense tomorrow. So my heart tells me the Pirates. You look at that spread and you're thinking NC State, but I am not going to bet against ECU. I'm going to say 37-34 Pirates. Let's go.
Yeah, I love it, Matt. Hey, apologies to Julian Davis. He had the other sack, not Raheem Craig. So Can't let that. I can't not mention him.
All right, you guys ready to go for the interview?
Yeah. We'll you want to say our goodbyes now? Go to that interview and let that close it out, or you can come back and say goodbye?
I'm going to come back and say goodbye.
All right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye now.
Okay.
You guys will get to hear me talk in this interview I did with Stevie earlier with from the Wolfpacker.com, Noah Fleischman. I got it right that time.
Right.
And Dave, if you're ready, roll that beautiful bean footage. Noah Fleischman from the Wolfpacker.com. We're about to preview the East Carolina North Carolina State game, and we're going to get the North Carolina State side of things. How you doing, Noah?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Good.
So, just start off with a general question. What is the atmosphere like in Raleigh right now from the NC State side, from the fan base, coaching staff, et cetera? In the past, going back to the bowl game and, of course, other times, North Carolina State has kind of looked at this like it wasn't a rivalry. Just from that aspect, seems like Coach Doran is, after the loss in the bowl game, is more, I don't know if embracing the rivalry is the right word, but he definitely seems locked in for this game.
Yeah, he definitely is. I think he's excited to be playing football again. I think they really would, it doesn't matter if it's East Carolina or Campbell. I think they're playing this week. I think they'd be just as excited and ready to go. Yeah, obviously it's a big game for them based on what happened the last time out. But I think they're more disappointed in the fact of how that game ended, kind of the touchdown at the end and then a fight, rather than kind of actually losing to them, if that makes sense. They're okay. They're not okay with losing, but you can't win them all, and it is what it is. They just weren't okay with how the thing ended, and especially the fight. And so I think that's really what they've been hung up on the most, is the way they didn't handle their composure the right way. And so I think that's the biggest learning lesson they've taken from that game is, win with grace and lose with grace. And unfortunately, they didn't do that, last time.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of that North Carolina State, East Carolina Military Bowl and the brawl, afterwards you just brought up, NC State's got a couple of players suspended for a half.
They do, yeah. Brandon Cleveland, the nose tackle, he's the bigger of the two that are suspended. He's the starting nose tackle, so he'll be out for the first half. And then Valen Erickson is a offensive lineman, but he was not going to start this year, most likely, so he'll be out for the first half as well. And then East Carolina has a player, Jason Tarpe, the offensive lineman, who actually isn't going to travel. So
the American Conference rule says he has to be suspended for the whole game, where the ACC says a half. I have no idea why we would make it harder on ourselves, but I don't make the rules for the American.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the NCAA requires only one half. So.
Yeah, it's a bit idiotic from my perspective. But anyway, looking at NC State's offense, obviously led by C.J. Bailey coming back. He took over last year. I can't remember at what point in the season, but really had a nice freshman season. So year two for C.J. running the ship there at quarterback. Changed offensive coordinator. I really think by promoting within, this had a lot to do with, developing C.J. Bailey. So talk about that, how you think he's developed in the offseason and in this offense, and what kind of changes can we expect to see from this offense with the change at OC?
Yeah. He started 9 games last year, so he played pretty much the majority of the season with Grayson McCall being the original starter, who had 2 concussions and ended his football career because of that. But overall, he played well, as you said, last year. He thought he was going to redshirt and be able to learn. That obviously got thrown out the table pretty fast, and he was able to adjust on the fly. He learned basically every week. I think he got better and better as the season went on. The bowl game wasn't even that bad of a performance from him. He still threw for 2 touchdowns, threw the ball well in the rain, and it just wasn't kind of the performance that they were looking for overall. But I think his individual performance wasn't a bad showing by any means. Going into this year, though, new coordinator with Kurt Roper, who was the quarterback's coach, so they kind of kept that together. CJ really liked the fact he got promoted. I think that played a factor. They wanted to keep their quarterback in Raleigh, and they were able to do that. The biggest change, I think, is the way that Kurt Roper describes his offense is, a college approach to a pro style offense. So they're going to go fast, and they're going to spread the field. So we're going to see how that really works. They huddled a lot last year under Robert Anae, but I don't anticipate too much huddling going on. I think they're going to really want to move the ball down the field and keep the play going.
You think, switching that offense, obviously, scout team always runs what the other team's running anyway. But do you think switching from that offense will help NC State in this game against this John David Baker up-tempo offense he brought over, which is kind of a hybrid of the Ole Miss Lane Kiffin offense and the air raid?
Yeah, I think it will be helpful just because it's something new. It's something that East Carolina from NC State's point of view, East Carolina doesn't really know what to expect entirely on either side of the ball for NC State. I'm sure we'll talk about the defense, but yeah, I mean that'll help. Also, NC State just has a ton of weapons. In that game against the Bowl, we keep going back to it, but Hollywood Smothers, a starting running back for NC State, didn't play at all in the third quarter. Still had over 130 yards on the ground. It was kind of one of those really mind-boggling situations. He's a really big weapon for them, and they've got a couple guys in the pass game like Justin Julie, the tight end, and Noah Rogers at wide receiver. I think this new offense they have can really feature a lot of guys. Last year they forced the ball a lot to just certain players. I think this time around we'll see a lot more balance and a lot more guys getting involved, on each drive.
Yeah. Go ahead, Stevie.
No, I know everybody talks about Hollywood Smothers being the big role on offense, but you mentioned a name that I think is going to be somebody that's might give ECU a problem. Justin Jolie. Talk about him and what kind of weapon you think he'll be in this offense this year.
Yeah, he's like a 6'3", 263-pound tight end, and he runs fast. And he can move. He runs. I think he ran 4.5. I think this summer. So he can move at tight end. He's a mismatch for most linebackers that'll end up on him. And he's too big for a safety to really go up and get the ball with. So he's a guy that NC State really likes to throw the ball to. I think they'll target him a lot more than they did last year. He basically got 3 to 4 targets a game. I think he ends up with 5 to 7 a game the way things shake out. He led the country in contested catch rate per tight end last year with 85%. So he's not afraid to go up and get the ball. And he, I think, is one of their more NFL-ready players on this team going into his senior year. He had an opportunity to leave in the offseason. A lot of SEC and Big Ten teams came calling. He ended up staying. NC State was able to get enough money on the table, and he also just liked the offense that they had. So I think that he is a guy that they're going to feed a lot, and I think East Carolina is an opportunity for them to really showcase that.
Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. Change on that side of the ball, too. New defensive coordinator coming in. Talk about the changes on defense and what the defensive personnel looks like for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, this is a big unknown. They ran a 3-3-5 under Tony Gibson for so long. You bring in a new coordinator in DJ Elliott, who hasn't been a defensive coordinator at the college level since 2021, I believe, at Temple. It's been a few years. He was at the Eagles and then was at Baylor last year. So he's kind of been all over the place, but he's a guy that's aggressive. Every defense he's called gets into the backfield, gets sacks, and tackles for a loss. So I think that's something that we know that they're going to try to do, get after the quarterback. Do it in weird ways, though. They're going to show a 3-man front at times. They'll show a 4-man front. They've got a couple linebackers that can play as a defensive end that can also drop in the coverage. So I think they'll do a lot of disguising, a lot of different looks to try to confuse opposing teams, and we'll see what happens. But I think the biggest thing we know is they're going to get after the quarterback, and they're going to try to cause havoc and make plays that way and get the ball back for their offense.
From a personnel standpoint, you mentioned getting after quarterback. That would imply a lot of blitzing. How's the defensive line and the linebacking core looking for the Wolfpack?
Yeah, they brought in a bunch of guys in the spring portal window. They brought 4 guys all on the defensive side of the ball. Sebastian Harsh is probably the biggest name that they got, him and Kean Sloan. Harsh came from Wyoming. He's a big defensive end. He's projected to start on tomorrow night. And then Kean Sloan, he's this kind of like edge linebacker kind of guy is how they're going to use him. He came from Utah State, had a career year last year, kind of going into his 5th year now. So that's kind of the situation there on the defensive line. I mean, Brandon Cleveland is a big part of that. He won't be playing the first half, as we mentioned earlier. So I'm actually really interested to see what they do in the middle of that defensive line. But, they've got some guys behind him. Chaz Wallace is a graduate guy. He came in from Colorado and redshirted as a senior last year. So he's eager to get on the field. And then they have a couple freshmen behind him. So we'll see a bunch of different things that they're on the defensive line in the first half.
How's the secondary looking for the Wolfpack?
It's brand new. I mean, they lost all their starting defensive backs from last year, either the graduation or the portal. So not a whole lot knowing there, but they had a guy named Brian Nelson transferred in from North Texas. East Carolina is pretty familiar with. He's one of the top corners in the portal. They're really excited about him. And then on the other side, Devon Marshall, who came in last year from Villanova, was the guy that played a lot as a rotational corner. Now he'll be the other starter. And then at safety, it's kind of one of those situations. You don't know who's going to start at one of the spots. The other spot will be Jeremiah Johnson coming in from Georgia State. So a lot of new faces in the secondary. And I anticipate East Carolina look to test them and see what they're made of.
Yeah, I'm sure with Kate Hauser quarterback, some of these receivers we have. I would go deep early and see what happens. Quickly, talk about the Wolfcats. Wow, the Wolfpack special team, kicking game, punting, etc.
Yes, pretty basic, pretty same from what they had last year. Caden Duncaster, he's one of the top punters in the ACC. Had a down year last year, mainly because he was used so much. I think that leg got tired by the end of it. And then Kanoa Vanessette, he's back at place kicker. He doesn't have a ton of leg. He kicked from 52 last year. I think they're hoping for an improvement from him. Anything outside of 45 got a little shaky, but I think they're more confident in him going to his second year as the starting kicker.
Stevie, do you have anything else for Noah?
I don't, Kyle. Just get ready for
Noah,
a big rivalry game tomorrow night.
Yeah, no doubt. It should be a lot of fun in Raleigh. 7 o'clock kickoff on the ACC network for the Pirates and the Wolfpack. Noah, we made this short and sweet as promised. Thank you very much for your time. And tell everybody where they can read your work and how to follow you on social media.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Yeah, you can read it at thewolfpacker.com, which is part of the On3 network. You can subscribe to On3 and read every college site that we have. They have over 70 different colleges represented on there. And you can follow me on Twitter at Fleischman_Noah. So those are 2 places you can find me pretty quick.
All right, Noah, thank you very much. And good luck to the Wolfpack after.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, bud. Have a good one, Noah.
Thank you, too.
Now, there we go. We are back here as always and glad to be with you tonight as we preview NC State at East Carolina. And don't forget all our programming. We'll be starting more programming in the next week or so, and got a lot of cool stuff there. Let's see. Let's go to Monica's not going to be at the game, but she's got some travel going on. She says how the Pirates score first. Hope the Pirates score first, neutralize the crowd, then go to work and get the win. Absolutely, Monica. Appreciate you as always. And we've had so many great people on tonight, so we appreciate that. Do you guys want to put in your scores if you want to do that? I know some of you Pirates still see. Kenny says he's going overtime. Pirates 41-35 at overtime. How about that? So pretty cool stuff from him. And why not? We're going to have a lot of fun, I know, and we're hoping. I'll tell you what, if we do get the win, let me just say this. If we do get the win, we'll be on tomorrow night right after the game. So look for us for a special, edition of our Pirate Playback. And, of course, Sunday night, of course, at 8 o'clock, we'll be live, ready to rock and roll for you. And we'll be talking about the next game, obviously, Campbell game, the first home game. Pirates sold over 15,000. We went over last year's total, by the way, for season tickets, if you're wondering about that. So very cool. 1-800-ECU. You can get your tickets or ECUPirates.com anywhere. But I saw that news. Again, if you're just joining us, the big game, Alabama, not Greenbow, but Tuscaloosa. I love Forrest Gump. And it's going to be a great game next year, September the 5th. So we'll know where you guys are next year. If you're Pirates, except for Kyle, he'll be at home for sure. If you got something going on, let us know. You can obviously, we'll tell you anything we've got going on with all our great social media. In fact, we appreciate Stevie. Stevie's taking care of X. So we have that. We've got a lot of stuff going on. I tell you what, I'm just excited about it as we get you ready for the game tomorrow night. Do you guys have anything else before we get out of here? Let's see if we got Johnny. Are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm sorry, bud.
Can you hear me?
You're still here. Yeah.
I've been a little distracted tonight. I'm drafting on a fantasy football league that I had no idea we were doing a show this night. This was scheduled a long time ago, so I was a little distracted, but I'm still here.
So what are your thoughts as far as your draft? What you got? Tell me what you got draft wise. Now you've got my curiosity up.
Well, here's the thing. I only could make the first 3 picks because even though I silenced the notification sound, it was still coming over my laptop, and it was so I just X'd out of it. So I have no idea.
You know what? You know what, Johnny? You'll probably win the whole thing because you didn't spend hours and hours of research. And oh my gosh, sweating. I'm hoping that I get Jaden Daniels, or I hope I'm getting this person or whatever. You're like, by the way, Scary Terry. I'm so excited that he signed that 3-year deal for the
I
rest.
just hope I didn't get any Commanders running backs, because that's a train wreck. So hopefully I won't get any of them, but I'll be checking it out. My thoughts on the upcoming season, though, is that I really think that although we improved greatly from the season before, we're going to see even more improvement this season. Like Holton's last 4 years, we were, plus we were plus interceptions. In other words, we threw less than we had. So, we were always getting advantage on turnovers through the interceptions when he was here. And then since he left, we've gone 2 consecutive years with a drastic deficit in interceptions. And I think we'll turn that around. That'll be a big help. And everybody's got more experience. Blake's in his first full year. I just feel really good. I think we're going to beat BYU. I think we're going to beat Coastal. And
let's go, Johnny.
And tomorrow's who knows what will happen tomorrow. But we're gonna have a good season. I have a feeling.
Yeah, and I was going to tell the fans that I know that I'm Debbie Downer, negative Nelly. It's going to be a close ball game either way, I feel like. But, man, I hope I'm wrong. And I tell you what, if I'm wrong, like I said, tomorrow night when we win, I'll come on the air and say I was wrong. I hate being wrong. Maybe it was reverse psychology on my part. I'm praying, man. I do not want NC State to win the game. Let me be very clear on that. But you're right, Johnny. You know what I was going to say, and I forgot to say earlier before we get out of here and wrap things up, is it does not, even if hypothetically speaking, okay, so if we lose tomorrow night, that doesn't dictate our season. We can go 11-1, still make the playoffs. Still, we can win an American championship. We have all our goals. It's a pride thing. Again, I'm not conceding. I'm not saying I want NC State to win. If you've watched the show for 7.5 years, you know that I don't want NC State to win, and I love my purple and gold. And I'm hopeful. If you win the NC State game, Johnny, it's going to be a really, really good season, because I think that says a lot about our program, where we are. And, it's a lot to be said. I'll end by saying this, my friend. All these people, these players that opt out and they don't want to play the bowl game and yada. Well, I tell you what, those bowl practices, those bowl games mean something. I know there are a lot of people that don't think so, but I do. And I think for our program, what is it, 20 practices, Johnny? Off the top of my head, I think.
The NCAA changed it a couple of years ago. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay. It was 20.
It's in that range. It's in that range.
So you get all those practices and the bowl practices plus the game. So those young kids, there's a lot of young guys, and people talk about that. But, I sat with Josh Aldridge last Wednesday, and I'm telling you guys right now, as Monica gives us her prediction, man, Monica, I hope you're right. 31-28. It's going to be a tight game. You are correct, Monica. I will definitely give you that. And I'm praying that if it's 1 point, if it's 31-30, right, Johnny? 31-30, like your prediction. I'll take it. We only need 1 point. We only need a 1 point victory. So however we get it, and Jonathan had 38-35. So they both have a field goal difference between the two of them for sure. Johnny, I tell you, looking forward to it. I appreciate it. By the way, again, I was out of turn when I talked about the quarterback rating. I needed Johnny.
Please.
And I appreciate you, man. You do a great job, and we're very excited to have you. A lot of people have complimented you off air, and we're very excited to have you on, and definitely looking forward to the football season. And you and I have seats close together in basketball. And baseball is going to be good. I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a really good sports year, and don't want to jinx it, but it starts tomorrow night. We'll see how it turns out.
I'm looking forward to it, Dave, for sure. You have my full attention from this point forward, too. No more drafts.
No more draft beer, maybe.
Maybe.
Okay. I don't want to out you. But yeah, I need to do I actually love NFL. You and I and Matt Well, no, Stevie. I'm sorry, Stevie as well. So we're outnumbering now. The NFL is big on the sports objective.
No, not really though. For me, I'd prefer Saturday football over Sunday football.
Oh, man.
I watch every game on Saturday.
See, for
I
me,
won't do that on a Sunday.
I've got son playing middle school, and obviously my middle school hasn't lost in 4 years, and so hopefully it won't happen in a couple weeks. You have so they're like 25-0. You have the high school. We've got a new coach, and that's going to be interesting to see. 4 coaches, Johnny. I do have a stat for you. 4 coaches in the last 4 years for Martin County High School, the now Gators. If you count the former coach who's now the Martin County athletic director, it's 5 coaches in 4 years. Not going to get into why all that situations happen, but we'll see how it plays out. But we've got work to do as far as, I would say, the program overall. As far as the athletes, the coaches are in good shape. It's the fundraising. The fundraising is what is missing at the moment, is what I'll say. And that's something yours truly, you know me, I'm going at it. Yeah. Go big or go home, my friend. And it's because these kids are very good kids. They're good in the classroom. They are very good at, I tell you, Jordan Matheson, he's got offers from a whole bunch, including finally, he got offers from East Carolina, and he's got a handful of offers. There's a few other guys that have it. And our running back, Josh Shepard, hopefully, for some reason, he hasn't got offers yet, but I think he will here as the season goes on for his senior year. All right, Johnny, you ready to get out of here, my friend?
I am.
All right. I'm going to get out of here before I fall asleep and embarrass Johnny. So
on to victory.
Yeah, I'm the only one. Well, no, Matt hasn't, but Bubba and Kyle have fallen asleep on the show before, and I don't want to be the third person to do that. So we'll get out of here. Good luck to the Pirates. And again, if the Pirates win, you will see us be checking YouTube and Facebook, and I will be tipping my hat to all the fellas. I'm the only one, I think, to pick NC State. So I'll take it tomorrow. I'll take it like a man. I'll take one for the team. If that's what it takes for the Pirates to win, and y'all can trash talk me, so be it. So we'll get out of here. Yeah,
hey, Dave, if the Pirates do win and we go on air, I'll be like broadcasting from a car heading to Moore County. So that could be interesting.
Hey,
but I hope it happens. I hope it happens.
Yeah, it will. It'll happen. All right, we'll get out of here. Good luck to the Pirates tomorrow night again. And if we get a victory, you'll see us. If not, we'll see you back on Sunday night at 8:00. And of course, that is our Pirate playback, and we'll break down the game in a whole and get you ready for the Campbell game, the very first home game, and that'll be Saturday night at 6:00 in Dowdy Ficklin Stadium at Bagwell Field. I'm Dave Richmond. Thanks to Johnny, Kyle, obviously Stevie, Matt, and our great guest, Jim Zoki, and Noah Fleischman. See, I can say it right. Thanks to everybody. We'll see you next time. Good night, everybody. And as always, go Pirates.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.